Good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We have a large audience out there in our digital world, so thank you so much on behalf of Wells Gray Tours for taking your time out this morning to be with us. My name is Kerrie Niemeyer, and I am the Director of Marketing and Sales for Wells Gray Tours. And I am thrilled to have two very special guests with me this morning. Of course, our owner, founder, CEO, tour director, and fearless leader, Roland Neve.
Morning.
And also a very important guest. He is our director of product development. So the gentleman who puts together all of our fabulous tours, Fraser Neve.
Hi, everybody.
So we are all three of us thrilled to be here with you this fall. We've had a very successful summer. Tours are out back on the road, and we have some really exciting new itineraries that we're going to talk about this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so I think everyone can see that opening slide. Welcome to our fall travel show. The photo that you see is from a recent tour this summer, group putting their toes into the cold waters in PEI at Cavendish Beach. This is on our Maritimes trip. And now we have lots of upcoming tours for this Christmas and up into 2023. Now, just before we get started, we do like to mention we did recently send out our quarterly brochure. This is our Experience magazine. We are sending it digitally. So this would have come to you by email last week. And we always like to point out there is a travel savings voucher within that magazine, and it is valid until October 7th. Now, we are also being very careful while out on the road. We know that COVID is still around us, so we are following a lot of the safety protocols that are out there. If you have questions about these safety protocols, please chat with our sales staff when you're booking a tour. Another very, very important feature that we like to point out is all of our tours are rated by activity levels, whether it is 1, 2, or 3. But we do ask you to please take this very seriously when you are booking a tour, to read what activities are involved and to know that your own limitations so that we can make sure that you can participate in all of the activities on the tour once you are out on the road. Now, this is a new slide I added. Now, since the pandemic, we're not quite out of the clear yet with the pandemic. We want to be aware that itineraries can have changes. We book many of our tours quite far in advance. And unfortunately, there are many hotels and restaurants and different attractions still facing, shortages with staff and closures, inflated costs. There's many moving parts. So we just want to make sure that you know that we are doing our absolute best behind the scenes to make sure that if there are any changes on your tour, whether it's before you go or even while you're out on the road, sometimes we are being notified about changes while your tour is in place. We're doing our best to come up with an alternative or a refund or whatever we can do. So we're just asking you to be patient and flexible and know that unfortunately there could be changes along the route. And I just have a little cartoon in the corner. I'm not sure if you can read that. It's pretty cute. It's a lady going in for a job interview, and the boss is asking if she's flexible, and she's standing up to do a yoga position. And he's saying, well, that's not exactly what I meant. I was talking about your hours of being flexible. So just trying to throw a bit of comedy into it, but we are asking you to please be flexible and patient when traveling. Now we do offer smaller groups. Many of our tours are selling out and at full capacity. If you are interested in traveling with a smaller group, just please note that we do still offer our Tour 15, our Tour 25, and our Tour 30. We also have departure points throughout the interior, the Lower Mainland, and Vancouver Island. And we still offer early booking discounts. Many of our tours, as soon as they come out for sale, do have those early booking discounts. So the sooner you book, the more money you save. So make sure you look out for that. Also, a new payment system we integrated this year, which was very exciting, is we have online payments now. So you can pay right through your bank, a direct payment, just like you would paying a bill. And we have offered a 2% discount for you using this system. Now this discount will end the September 23rd, so that is coming up soon. We still will be offering a discount for using the system. It will just be a lesser percentage. So keep that in mind. But we are encouraging you to use this online payment system. And of course, we are having our annual Facebook photo contest. If you like to win money and you want to share your photos, you just email them to myself, which is Kerrie@wellsgreytours.com, and I post those on our Facebook page. And we have lots of fun photos in there this year already, but we are accepting photos right until December 15th. Okay, so now we're going to jump into our destinations. First up, we do have one fall getaway still available for sale. Now, this is Thanksgiving at Echo Valley Ranch. It is leaving October 7th out of the interior and October 6th from Vancouver Island. So this is coming up quick. Thanksgiving is just around the corner. We can take bookings on this tour just until Monday. And it is a small group, just taking 25 people. And the picture that you see here is Echo Valley Ranch. It is a beautiful resort located in the Caribou region. What's really nice, we have this whole facility to Wells Grey Tours. It is a 5-star luxury resort. It has a spa, superb meals, and there are lots of activities you can take part in, whether it's yoga or horseback riding or nature walks. So it's a really beautiful luxury getaway over the Thanksgiving weekend, and just available to book until this Monday. All right, next up, we're going to jump into our Christmas tours. Christmas is just around the corner, hard to believe. But first up, we have our Leavenworth Christmas Lighting, an annual tour we love to do, going down in the beginning of December to beautiful Leavenworth. And we do have some early booking discounts available. This tour stays 2 nights right down in Leavenworth, right in downtown at the Enzian Inn. And lots of highlights on this tour, of course, seeing the magical town lit up in all the Christmas lights. But we also go to a harpist concert. It's Braun Journey, and he performs with his wife. And we also will visit the Annie Antique Gallery, the Nutcracker Museum, and we'll even be driving into Seattle on our last night for a performance of Cinderella. Then for our Christmas tours, we have 2 this year. The first one is Christmas in Vancouver. And the picture you see is Van Dusen Gardens. So a beautiful Christmas light up. And we have some discounts available, $25. And for this tour, we'll be staying at the iconic Fairmont Hotel Vancouver, which is what you see on the picture on the left. So we do have 4 nights here. And then we also have quite a few highlights. We're including a lunch cruise on the Paddle Wheel River on the Fraser River. We're going to the Van Dusen Gardens, as you saw in the first photo. And we have 2 shows that we'll see, The Sound of Music and also Talking Turkey. And our second Christmas tour is Christmas in Victoria, a favorite. We love going to Victoria. You can see Butchart Gardens in the background here, all lit up. Absolutely beautiful. One thing different this year, we are staying at a new property. We're absolutely thrilled. They're going to be doing a Christmas buffet here for us, but it's at the Hotel Grand Pacific. So this is a lovely hotel right on the Inner Harbor. So you overlook the Inner Harbor of Victoria. And then, of course, we will see the Festival of Lights at Butchart Gardens, an IMAX film, and 3 shows are also included on this tour. The Sound of Music, A Tiny Christmas Carol, and we'll be having a Christmas Eve concert performed by the Harmony Group. And then just around the corner is 2023. So we are going to head down to Vancouver to have New Year's in Vancouver. We do have some discounts still available, but we are going to ring in 2023 in style with the Salute to Vienna. Now, this is an outstanding cast of 75 musicians, singers, and dancers. It is billed as the world's greatest New Year's concert, and we have superb seating for this. So it is a wonderful way to ring out 2022 and ring in 2023. Then we've added an additional New Year's tour this year, New Year's in Spokane. This is selling out very quickly. It's actually been 14 years since Wells Gray has offered a Christmas or New Year's tour to Spokane. So we are very excited to be going back, staying at the fabulous Davenport Hotel. And the highlight, as you can see in the photo, we are going to see Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, and this is performed by the Spokane Symphony Orchestra, along with a huge choir. And then there will be lots of other highlights. We'll be doing a guided tour around Spokane and even a dinner cruise on Lake Coeur d'Alene. Okay, next up, we are going to jump into our winter escapes for 2023. First up, a very exciting new tour. We have our Ice Hotel and Quebec Winter Carnival. This is a brand new tour for us. It is starting to sell out pretty quick, but we do have some early booking discounts still available. And yes, we're going to Quebec in the winter time. Celebrate winter right in Quebec City. Of course, they are known for their winter carnival, and we have VIP seats to this extravagant event. There's a beautiful ice parade, all the ice sculptures. We even have go out to a traditional sugar shack and have a traditional meal here, lots of dancing and music. So it's going to be a really fun winter getaway. Then next up in February, we have our Banff Springs Hotel. We also have early booking discounts available. So we're going to go and spend 4 nights at the Castle in the Rockies. Of course, Banff Springs is one of Canada's most famous hotels. Just placed in one of the most magnificent settings, and we will enjoy all the amenities, the excellent cuisine, and the impeccable service that they do offer at this property. And a couple other highlights, we do get out and ride the Banff Gondola up Sulphur Mountain, and we also have time to soak in the Upper Hot Springs. Okay, and then speaking of hot springs, our next tour up in February is the Kootenay Hot Springs. So the Kootenays region, of course, is known for many incredible wonders, but one of them being the variety of hot springs that they do have. And we love to go every year. All you have to do is bring your bathing suit and relax on this tour. We're going to visit 3 different hot springs. The one you see in the photograph is Ainsworth, but we also will visit Radium Hot Springs and Fairmont Hot Springs. And what's really nice about this tour, our accommodation is right next to the hot pools at both Fairmont and Ainsworth. So you'll have unlimited access at your leisure. just sit back and relax. All right, and now we're going to jump into our spring and summer adventures for 2023. First up being storm watching at Wickenish Inn. This has become such a popular destination for our guests that we are offering it twice a year and often multiple departures, which are selling out. The Wickenish Inn, you can see in the photograph here, it is perched right on the edge of the cliffs on the sea with the beautiful rainforest in the background, a 5-star property, and you have lots of time to enjoy the property itself and also time to stroll on the beautiful beaches, walk in those beautiful forests, and we do take you up for a visit to Tofino and also Ucluelet. Okay, next up we have cruising the Gulf Islands. So this tour leaves in May and we do have some early booking discounts. And this will be spending 4 nights at Poets Cove. Poets Cove, you can see in the picture here, it is a luxury resort located right in between Bedwell Harbor and South Pender Island. It has every amenity you could wish for. It has delicious food and a spa. So has become an annual trip for us. It also does sell out quite quickly. A couple highlights on this trip is we do have a boat for 2 days to cruise around the Gulf Islands, and we go out on Orca Spirit's Pacific Explorer. So that's the boat you can see here in the picture. Lots of whale watching, lots of beautiful scenery, and on the boat there are hydrophones, so you can actually hear the underwater experiences of the animals, and we have a naturalist on board explaining everything we're seeing. Then we also have a day the boat takes us over to Salt Spring, and we have a tour up to Mount Maxwell and free time in Ganges. Okay, next up, now moving along into June. Now, this is a very popular tour. We've offered a second departure. The first departure sold out so quickly. So now both departures are almost sold out. It is a tour 30 and it is a hiker level 3. So just a couple of things we like to point out. Now this is an in-depth tour, of course, of our most eastern province. And this will be the second year that we have taken people to Newfoundland. The people of Newfoundland are very extremely proud of their province, and they really call this one of the happiest places on earth. I've heard they compare it to their Disneyland. But an absolutely beautiful place to go. There's a lot of highlights. I do have a map here just to give you an overview. We fly into Deer Lake, where we have a couple nights before making our way up the Viking Trail, overnighting in a couple spots and making our way all the way up to the north coast, Northern Peninsula to St. Anthony, where we spend 2 nights. Then we make our way back down that Viking Trail, off back into Gander for 2 nights, 2 nights in Clarenville, and then 3 nights in St. John's before flying home. So a few of the highlights that we'll see, one of them is definitely Grossmore National Park. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and we do have time to take a walk with a park ranger and learn about these remarkable tablelands and the land formation and the deep fjords. Another really wonderful experience. Now, these photos were taken from our tour just this past year, and we do have a boat excursion out through a Bonny Bay and some spectacular views of Grossmorn from a different perspective. And then also this is where they do the traditional screech in ceremony. So it's a really fun afternoon with music, and you can even dare to kiss the cod. Which this guest of ours definitely did. And another highlight will, of course, be visiting Lanso Meadows, which is the National Historic Site. that was reconstructed, and it's from the Viking expedition from about the year 1000. There's a lot of history here, and you have lots of time to learn and wander around the old footsteps of this Viking expedition. Then our next day is devoted to exploring the Bonavista Peninsula, and this is one of Newfoundland's iconic places. So we have a day here, and we also stop in Trinity Bay, which is the photo that you see. Then a little bit closer to home, this is our BC Fjords trip coming up next. This will be leaving in June. Now it is filling up fast as it is just a tour 25. Very popular tour. Some of the most thrilling sites along the BC coast cannot be reached by road, so we will access these by boat. And we've included 4 boat excursions to these remote places on the BC coast. And I have a couple pictures, or there is a map here of an overview. So leaving from the interior, we would ferry over to Nanaimo and then drive you up to Port McNeill, where we take a couple boat excursions out from Port McNeill. Then we also make our way back on a boat excursion through Desolation Sound into Lund and Powell River, and then down into Sechelt and back into the interior. So if you're a Victoria client, we would just be doing the ferry there in the opposite direction. But a really beautiful, beautiful scenery, lots of wildlife, grizzly bears, eagles, whales, and of course the remarkable scenery in Desolation Sound. And then now this will be our last spring and summer trip that we have out for sale currently. This is our Inside Passage and Skeena train. This leaves in July. We are just offering 1 departure this year, and it is already half full. So it is starting to sell very quickly. It is a wonderful British Columbia Circle tour. And I just have a map here that shows an overview again. We would make our way over to the island up into Port Hardy. From here, this is where we would board the Northern Expedition, and it's a 15-hour journey through the Inside Passage along this whole magnificent coastline up into Prince Rupert. Just outside Prince Rupert, we do a day excursion to Kutsumitine, which is the grizzly sanctuary, and it was established in 1994, and it preserves one of the largest population of grizzly bears in British Columbia. And we board a catamaran for an all-day excursion. So it's very safe, but the scenery is amazing, and you really do get right up close to see the bears in their natural habitat. So I know that's a huge highlight. Then we jump from here onto the Skeena train. Our Victoria clients get off in Burns Lake, and then our interior clients go on to Prince George. We overnight in Prince George. We have a day trip in Barkerville, down into Williams Lake, and then back through the interior home. So here's a photo of the BC Ferries, the Northern Expedition, for that beautiful scenic cruise all the way from Port Hardy to Prince Rupert. And then that's the Skeena train. So that's the all-day journey all the way from Prince Rupert, either to Prince George or Burns Lake. And that is currently what we have out for sale for our local tours. And now what I'm going to do is pass this along to Fraser, and he is going to talk about our world journeys. So thank you, Fraser.
Hello again, everybody. Yes, I have the distinct pleasure of going through some of our journeys that take us overseas. And this is just going to be a few of them. We do have some more that are yet to be announced. So make sure you stick around until the end of the show when Kerrie will take us through some of our tours that are coming soon. So we'll start off by heading down under. amazing Australia. This tour is departing March 26th. It is over 3 weeks long, and we only have a few seats left. So if it does pique your interest, don't delay in signing up. We're only taking 25 clients on this tour. It is a very comprehensive tour. We do try to hit most of the highlights in Australia. So we will fly into Melbourne, stay 5 nights there. On one of those days, we'll do a day trip out to Phillip Island, and we'll do another day trip along the Great Ocean Road before flying to Adelaide, where we'll stay for a few nights and make a day trip over to Kangaroo Island. We'll take the GONE train up to Alice Springs, which we'll talk about here shortly, making our way over to Uluru, otherwise known as Ayers Rock, and then heading over to the Great Barrier Reef and the Cairns area, and finishing up with 4 nights in Sydney. Just a few of the highlights on this tour: the Koala Conservatory and Nature Park. So of course we're going to see koala bears here, and in the early evening time, once dusk rolls around, we're going to be able to witness the penguin parade. All these little penguins that make their way up from the ocean along the beach. Pretty impressive sight. Like I said before, we will take a ferry over to Kangaroo Island and have the opportunity to see some kangaroos and some other unique wildlife in Australia, such as wallabies and echidnas. The GONE train, this will certainly be a highlight of the trip. It's going to pull out of Adelaide at noon, and it's a 25-hour journey north to Alice Springs. We have everybody in the gold class, which is the most popular, and you'll be very comfortable during your overnight stay. Now that morning after you sleep, the train is actually going to stop, and we're going to get off at a viewing station for about an hour and a half to have the opportunity to watch the sunrise over the Australian outback. It would be a pretty incredible sight. Once we make it over to Cairns, we're going to explore the Great Barrier Reef. We're going to board a catamaran for the hour-long trip out to the reef. And then once we're there, you will have the opportunity to do some snorkeling. And there will be an interpretive naturalist along with us to provide some commentary while we're on a glass bottom boat for an excellent view of the reef below us. And the final highlight that I'll touch on here is the Sydney Opera House. So we will take a guided tour here. And this is one of the 7 wonders of the 20th century. The Danish architect, when he built it back in the early 70s, he designed it based on the sails of yachts in the Sydney harbor. So lots of highlights on this tour. These were just a few of them. Definitely pull up our brochure on our website or pop into our office to see what else is on this tour. We're going to jet over to South America now for our Machu Picchu, Lake Titicaca, and Cusco tour. This is filling up fast. We're over half filled. We do still have a couple of the early booking discounts of $150. This is an activity level 3 tour, mainly due to the extensive walking that will be taking place and the high altitude in Cusco, in Bolivia, and of course here at Machu Picchu. The Nazca lines. So we will board small planes in southern Peru, and we're going to take a flyover of these lines. These shapes are actually only recognizable from the air, and these gigantic drawings were made in the sand over 2,000 years ago. So certainly a bucket list item for many of us. We'll take a flight into Cusco and then make our way on a scenic drive across the high mountain ridge and the rugged Andes soaring around us. This can descend into the sacred valley of the Incas, where we are going to stay for 2 nights. Jumping over to Bolivia here briefly, Lake Titicaca lies at an elevation of almost 4,000 meters, unbelievable, and it's considered the highest navigable lake in the world. When we're here, we're going to take a boat excursion to the Uros floating islands, which were made from piles of reeds. So we will take a hour-and-a-half long journey on a narrow gauge railroad up to Machu Picchu. This is the lost city of the Incas. We will stay 1 night here, and we will experience a guided tour of Machu Picchu that will hopefully unlock some of the mysteries of these ruins. Finishing up this tour, we will be in La Paz in Bolivia for 2 nights. And we're going to start out our day in La Paz with a trip up the cable car transit system for an incredible view of the city. Heading north now, we are now in Iceland. This tour is leaving at the beginning of June of next year. Only 4 seats left. So don't delay on this one either. Again, just 25 customers will be on board for this one. A Wells Grey tour of Iceland is comprehensive. We do quite a bit more than some of the other tour companies that offer Iceland. We do a full circle of the island, and we end up actually spending 14 nights here. Once we get off the plane in Keflavik from North America, we'll have breakfast in a local restaurant and then make our way to the Blue Lagoon. This is an incredible place to relax and unwind after the flight from North America. And when I was there, I really enjoyed picking up the mud along the bottom of the pools and smearing it all over ourselves. It's quite therapeutic. Kirkjufell Mountain in the background here is considered one of the most photographed mountains in the world. Alongside it here is Kirkjufellsfoss, one of the many waterfalls in Iceland. Jökulsárlón Glacial Lagoon, so we will board an amphibious boat, as you can see in the photo here, for a lovely cruise amongst the floating icebergs. And when we're in Húsavík, we'll take a whale watching trip. Generally, when we're in this area, the whales that we see will be the minke whales. Skogafoss, one of the most photographed waterfalls in Iceland. This one is 16 meters high and is very popular, as you can see by the number of people that are taking it in. The geyser area of Iceland, very well known. This one here, Stroker, actually erupts every 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, and finishing up in Europe, Croatia, one of my favorite places. Dubrovnik, as we can see in the photo here, very iconic and well known. So we will spend a few nights here before we get on our ship. This is the old town, so we will have a guided tour of the old town, and you'll have the opportunity to walk along the outer wall. So we'll fly into Dubrovnik, and then we'll board our vessel for a 7-day cruise amongst the islands. And then we'll disembark in Split. We'll have 4 days after getting off the ship of touring the rest of Croatia before flying home from the capital, Zagreb. This is our vessel. This is the Aquamarine. Only 19 cabins aboard. So we are planning to have the entire ship to ourselves. It'd be pretty fantastic to have everybody being from Wellsbury Tours on board. It's the same size of ship as I experienced when I was in Croatia 3 years ago, and it really is a pretty special way to explore some of the smaller islands and villages along the coast of Croatia. And like I said, we're going to finish the tour in Split and make our way to Zadar, which is the photo on the left here. We'll make a visit to Peg Island, taste some cheese and some prosciutto, and then we'll make our way towards Zagreb, making a stop at the Plitvice Lakes National Park. And then Zagreb is the capital pictured on the right here. So this concludes our overseas tours, and I'm going to now pass it over to Roland to take us through some of the cruises that we have upcoming.
Well, thank you, Fraser, and good morning again, everybody. Great to have you all with us and traveling the world again. It's been a long time since we've been able to go to so many places that we're now able to travel to. So I'm going to show you some pictures of upcoming cruises. And I've really missed being on a cruise ship. My wife and I love cruising, whether it's bigger ships like Holland America or some of the smaller vessels that are also included on our tours. So it was just last weekend that we were on board the new Statendam. It's one of the newest ships of Holland America. This picture is actually of the Koningsdam, which is a sister to the new Statendam. And we were quite impressed with all the new features that have been brought out on these newer ships. So I hope you'll be able to join us on one of the tours that features larger cruise ships. So we're going to start off with going to the Caribbean in January. This is on the Eurodam. We do use Holland America for probably 90% of our cruises because they are very focused on good service, excellent food, and many things included. The other cruise line that we have occasionally is Norwegian, which will be featured on our Hawaii cruise going in January. But the Caribbean cruise is going to be for 16 days. And here's a map of where we'll be going to. We fly to Fort Lauderdale, then go the next day to the Half Moon Key, which is Holland America's private island, and then down to Aruba, Cartagena, and into the Panama Canal. This is a rather unique cruise because it goes halfway through the Panama Canal, then turns around and goes back out through the same 3 locks. And then we have a stop in Costa Rica and back to Fort Lauderdale. So we'll start off with on Aruba, a very interesting Dutch city that is full of bright colors and many typical Dutch features. So a great city to stroll around, go shopping, perhaps try some different food that you would not find on the ship. And we have the whole afternoon and departing at 11 p.m. So even after dinner, you can still go ashore and look around some more. Next is also a Dutch island, Curaçao, which settled in 1634, and with several forts to protect the island, it has grown into a major tourist attraction today. Any of these islands, you can take sightseeing tours. The ones that you can buy right on the ship are very comprehensive and show you some of the best highlights. We touch on South America with the visit to Cartagena in Colombia. And that's mostly a morning visit, but plenty of time to get ashore and go to visit the huge fortress that is quite close to the dock. And then we enter the Panama Canal. Sometimes we offer a cruise that goes right through the Panama Canal, traveling from the Caribbean over to the Pacific and then all the way up the coast to Vancouver. But this one gives you a taste of the Panama, since you will be going up by 3 different locks. I find it quite interesting when I've gone through the Panama Canal that they start the process at about 5 a.m. and the deck is absolutely crowded. You can't find a space very easily by the railing because everybody is out so early. But it's also pretty warm there, even in the middle of the winter. So as you go through one lock after another, then the crowds on the deck dwindle, and by the time you're going down the locks in the afternoon, there's hardly anybody out on deck anymore. I think they're all enjoying the cool interior of the ship. But the Panama Canal is certainly an amazing experience of how it was built a century ago. Now a second canal alongside the original to take care of some of the gigantic passenger ships that travel through the canal today. And then we travel up the Caribbean coast of Central America, docking in Costa Rica, which is the only Caribbean port for this very popular country. So again, there's shore excursions that you can take to visit the town, as well as the parks and the wildlife that you see nearby. Antarctica, one of my favorite cruises. Anne and I did this trip about 12 years ago, loved it, and someday we certainly plan to go back and see it all again. But it is full of unique experiences. Here's a map of our cruise route. We fly into Buenos Aires in Argentina. We take a flight up to see the Iguazu Falls, which is incredibly wide, about 2.5 miles across, almost 300 feet high in places. So it's quite a sight to see those falls. And then we get on the ship, cruising down the east coast of Argentina, visiting Montevideo, which is in Uruguay, and then Puerto Madryn. We go across to the Falkland Islands, then down to Antarctica, spending 4 days actually cruising amongst the gigantic icebergs and ice-draped peaks that are right on the coast. It's a cruise that you really have to do once. It should be a bucket list item for everybody. It is an expensive cruise, but the experience is just so worthwhile to see the 7th continent. And I should mention that we give an award to our customers who have traveled to all 7 continents with Wells Grey Tours. Usually Antarctica is the most difficult one to get to because we offer this cruise about every 2nd year. But we currently have about a dozen people who have been to all 7 continents with us, and that's quite an achievement. Then we go up the west coast of Chile to Ushuaia, Punta Arenas, and finishing up at San Antonio, where we disembark the ship and fly home from nearby Santiago. So here's a few scenes along the way. Here's a typical cruising day through Antarctica. Great stark peaks with glaciers going right down to the ocean. And there are several experts on board who can give lectures about the glaciation, the geology of Antarctica. So it is quite an experience. The Falkland Islands have Some interesting buildings. Of course, they're British and about as far away from London as you can imagine, but one of the last outposts of the British Empire and now the Commonwealth. One of the popular trips that you can take on the Falkland Islands is to see the penguins on a remote beach. Now we go to the transatlantic cruise, which travels from Fort Lauderdale to Barcelona in Spain, right across the Atlantic. And this is on the new Statendam, the ship that I just mentioned that we just got off last weekend. And so it's a big ship, Holland America's largest, with 2,500 people on board. And I kind of like a big ship like this for the crossing of the Atlantic, because sometimes the Atlantic can be rough. We always hope that it's going to be smooth, and we've had those experiences on different transatlantic crossings. But it is certainly a great experience and certainly caters to people who want to spend a lot of time on the ship with all the entertainment and attractions and activities that Holland America puts on for days at sea. This picture is in Barcelona, showing the Sagrada Familia, the extraordinary church in the city. Here's part of our route. After crossing most of the Atlantic, we dock in the Azores for a day and then go to Cadiz in Spain, side trip offered to Seville, then to Gibraltar, marking the entrance to the Mediterranean Sea. From Malaga, we go to see Granada and the incredible Alhambra Palace. Then a stop at Alicante and into Barcelona, from where we fly home. Now here's a picture of Ponta Delgada in the Azores, built around a remarkable crater. These 9 islands that make up the Azores are all of them are volcanic. We go to Seville, a side trip from Cadiz. We have a private tour that goes there, and we visit the massive Seville Cathedral. In Gibraltar, we ride the cable car up to the very top of the rock, where you get a fantastic view over this gateway to the Mediterranean. And then from Malaga, we take the trip up to Granada and the Alhambra Palace, which was built in the 5th century and then gradually expanded, a massive Moorish structure. And then overnight we cruise up the east coast of Spain, docking at Alicante, and also a very old historic Spanish city. And then finishing up in Barcelona, where we stay at a hotel that's very close to Las Ramblas, the famous shopping street and the Gothic quarter, and then seeing some of the famous works by Antoni Gaudi, including the Sagrada that I mentioned. So that's a great cruise and already attracting a lot of bookings. Much closer to home, we have the San Diego to Vancouver cruise. It's a great Pacific coastal sailing. On board the Eurodam, we have a few days in Palm Springs to start with, and then to San Diego, and then we board the ship up the coast. So it's a nonstop cruise up to Victoria, and then to Vancouver. While we're still in San Diego, we visit the San Diego Zoo, which has thousands of animals and about 800 species. It's probably one of the most famous zoos in the world. And then quite a few other attractions in the San Diego area during our stay there. The Maritime Museum, the Botanic Gardens, the Stephen Birch Aquarium, and a rather funky museum, the Museum of Making Music in Carlsbad. Coming soon is an Iceland and Greenland cruise. It will start from Rotterdam and then go have several calls in Ireland and Northern Ireland. We go up to Iceland for 2 stops there, including the capital city of Reykjavik. And then what's quite unique is 2 stops in Greenland. So Prince Christian Sound is a place where you can go to cruise among icebergs and see the huge glacier that comes right down to tidewater. And then a stop in the little village of Katorkok before we head south to Newfoundland and finish up in Boston. That tour should be coming out probably about middle of October, so keep an eye out for that one. And then over a year from now, we have the Rhone River Cruise, a small ship cruising on the Rhone River up to going from the coast of France near Marseille and the Mediterranean upstream or northwards to Lyon in the center of France. There's a few days there in advance where we tour the south coast of France and visit the Principality of Monaco. Take a trolley tour through Monaco and see some of its sights. A very, very expensive city to stay in. So we actually stayed almost next door in the city of Nice. Of course, everybody wants to go and see the Monte Carlo Casino. Last time I was there, we walked through with our mouths open at the signs on the betting tables that said what your minimum bet was. Some of them were $1,000. So not too many people, at least in our group, were gambling that day. But we were impressed at the number of Ferraris that were parked right outside the door to the Monte Carlo Casino. And in Cannes, along the French Riviera, a lot of sights that you see if you take in the film festival that occurs annually there. And beautiful boulevard that goes right along the beachfront. Once we get onto the river ship with Avalon Cruises, we're heading up the Rhone River. And here is the city of Arles. And we take a walking tour, seeing some of the sites, including the Roman amphitheater that you see in this picture. Further up the Rhone River, we stop in Lyon, France's second largest city. And from near there, we get off the ship and take the train, the fast TGV train into Paris. Now, most people in Canada have not experienced a French train, and it really is quite something to get onto because it goes very fast. We were rushing up to the electronic readout at the front of our car, taking pictures as the numbers went up and topped at 301 kilometers per hour. It's quite the journey. And then once we get into Paris, we have several days there to do the major highlights: the Palace of Versailles, here the Hall of Mirrors, and the Louvre, the great art museum that has thousands and thousands of works. The most famous ones that attract the most crowds in those galleries, like the Mona Lisa and the Venus de Milo. But elsewhere in the Louvre, you can wander through galleries and see many, many other works. They're just not quite as world renowned. So here we have Coming Soon, and I'll turn this back to Kerrie now to conclude our show.
Thank you so much, Roland. Can you? Okay, thank you so much, Roland and Fraser. Some pretty fascinating destinations out there. And we are continuously behind the scenes working to create new tours. We have tours that come out throughout the year. And so these are some more tours that Roland and Fraser are working on currently behind the scenes. So coming up for next spring, we do have Shenyang in Vancouver. This will be coming out in March. We also have the Yukon's Northern Lights in April. Now, this tour, we have a tour going in November. It did sell out. So we're really excited to be offering the second departure in April. And it is following the moon cycle with the new moon. So it should be a wonderful time for the viewing of the lights. We also have New York City coming up in May. Our coast to coast tour sold out so incredibly quickly this year that we've offered a second departure in May. So watch for that coming very soon. We also have our stunning Northwest BC tour in July. Brand new tour coming out for sale, Scandinavia. So that is what you see here in the picture. That will be in July. Also in July and August is Haida Gwaii. And we have in August, Iceland and Greenland. That was the cruise Roland was speaking about that flies. You fly into the Netherlands and then sail to Boston. Maritimes and Newfoundland also in August. A new tour is Alaska Wildlife and Glaciers. This is going to be a fantastic trip up to Alaska to do a lot of the land, to really be on the land. We've done lots of cruises to Alaska, but this is going to spend time on the land, viewing all the wildlife and glaciers. And then also coming up in August is our St. Lawrence River Cruise. So some pretty exciting trips to watch out for. What we do offer is an interested list. So if any of these tours pique your interest, make sure you call our local office or email myself, and we'll make sure to get you on these lists. So as soon as these tours do come out for sale, your name is put on that list and you are contacted first before the tour goes out for sale to the general public, or it goes on the website. So you have those chances at the early booking discounts. And honestly, people are booking pretty fast. We are selling out of some things very quickly. So being on the interested list is very helpful. Okay. And then we just want to say thank you so much. Thank you on behalf of Wells Grey Tours. Thank you to Roland and Fraser, of course, for joining myself this morning. And we really are doing our best to navigate flawless tours as much as we can. We want you to have a stress-free journey. We want you to get out and see the world and enjoy all the beautiful sights. And we're thrilled that the world is open again, and we're doing our very best to get you out there. So on behalf of Wells Grey Tours, thank you so much for traveling with us and trusting us and believing in us. And we just love to travel, and we're so glad that all of you are as well. And now, just before we go today, I'll let Roland and Fraser say a final couple words, and then we will be doing a draw and drawing for 3 lucky winners this morning to win our 3 travel vouchers. So we'll do that in just a moment. Any final words from Roland and Fraser?
Well, I just want to say thank you for traveling with us. And I seem to be doing a lot more traveling than I used to. I guess I'm making up for 2 years of not doing very much traveling. But having just got off the new Statendam last weekend, I've got 4 days in the office, and then on Friday, I'm leaving for the mystery tour, where we don't tell people where they're going. Some people think they've guessed it. I'm not sure if they are actually going to be correct. They may be surprised still, but that's going to be fun. And then in November, Anne and I are actually going to take a holiday, except how else do you go on a holiday but take a Wells Grey tour? So we're going to be passengers on one of our own tours, and we're going to Egypt and Jordan, a place that I've wanted to go to or back to for many, many years. So thanks everyone. And Fraser, anything to say?
Yeah, I can add to that. I have a couple of upcoming trips as well. I'll be in Mexico City in about four weeks here for a little meeting, and then there's a little familiarization tour before that meeting. So looking forward to that. I'll also be in Reno in November for another conference, and then Roland, Anne, and me and my family will also be on the Hawaii cruise in January. So that'll be my first time back on a cruise ship since the pandemic, and I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Excellent. Some very fabulous things to look forward to. Well, thank you so much again to everyone. And if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to call your local office or email myself. And if for any reason the technology didn't work, I will be recording this and send out the recording to all of you very shortly. So thank you so much, and we wish you safe and happy travels.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.